Hello and welcome to Wednesday Night Standard here at GameSwap in blustery Mason, Ohio. I am Jason Morgan.
I'm Zachary West.
And we're going to be doing the commentary for the first 3 of the 4 rounds tonight. On the left we have local grinder, and I think it's fair to call him an in-boss, Michael Belfatto.
Pro Tour competitor.
Indeed, multiple. Multiple on green-black counters. And on the right, we have Patrick Narsavage with a Grixis Tower brew.
Yeah.
That has been performing pretty well for him so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do have to say.
And I would venture to say it's more or less favored in this matchup, this type of matchup.
I would imagine.
I definitely saw a Search for Ascanta in his hand. He's got, we'll say, mono removal spells and counter spells in this type of deck.
Well, and Belfi, as he's affectionately known, on the mall.
Yeah.
As well. And the thing is, and I've been thinking since Worlds, you know, and Blue-Black establishing itself in the metagame. No surprises there. We talked about it last week, and sure enough, we were right.
Absolutely. Scarab God is still fantastic.
Amongst other things like Vraska's Contempt and Torrential Gearhulk and things of that nature. And Search for Ascanta proving itself to be quite the magic card.
Absolutely.
But the thing is, I was thinking about, okay, so where do we go next? And I was thinking about green-black, some kind of mid-range thing, and it looks like Belfi has been thinking similar thoughts. The problem with a green-black strategy, I think, and I think we're going to see it play out here, is that it lost all of its grind.
Yes.
No more Nissa.
Nope.
No more Liliana the Last Hope. No more Tireless Tracker.
Yeah.
Cards that are very, very important in allowing a deck like green-black to keep up in these kinds of matchups.
Yeah, and my other initial thought with this type of deck is that it really does not bode well against Scarab God. Well,
that too, yeah.
Now, Belfi has assured me that that he's playing main deck Death Gorge Scavenger, that helps shore up the matchup.
Sure.
And I said absolutely it does, but against a blue-black control-based type deck, it's not the end-all be-all.
No. But, I mean, importantly, he is playing the color black, so he's going to have access to a card like Vraska's Contempt for Scarab God. And he's also got access to Duress out of the sideboard for having a little bit of audio problem here, folks. Sorry about that. There we go. It was actually not all the way connected. Okay, we should be good now.
Yeah.
Duress. Nope. There we go. Duress. Oh, yes, maybe. I will eventually. Okay, there we go. I will eventually get to finish that thought. Duress out of the sideboard for these matchups. There, I said it real quick before it cut out again. Somebody out there didn't want me to point that out, I think.
You also get access to cards like Doomfall. I'm not sure that you need it in excess with Duress, but that is another thought process that could go along with that.
Certainly.
You know, and I see an Hour of Devastation in Patrick's hand.
Yeah, and I see mono removal spells in Belfi's.
Yeah, and I am on the know-how with Patrick, and I do know how he plays No Creatures main deck. So.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, can't Fatal Push a Dynavolt Tower.
No, absolutely not.
Even with Revolt.
Oh. Huh. You think you know somebody.
Right.
So, I think he has an Hour of Devastation and then another Dynavolt Tower in his hand. And he's just going to start shooting down all of Belfatto's threats here. And these he's going to eventually flip over Search for Ascanta.
And demonstrate for us why that card is actually being called a win condition.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is a land that allows you to access to more cards, and it's being legitimately called a win condition by the pro community.
Yep.
That's where we're at. That's how good that card is.
And hilariously enough, this type of deck, this Grixis Tower deck, is very similar to a deck that was played by Zach Elsick the first week of the SCG.
Okay.
Yeah, he's playing a Grixis brew like this. It was all removal spells and that type.
Primal Amulet.
Yeah, it didn't have the win condition of Dynavolt Tower, but it did play Search for Azcanta, and the same type of effect was being used, as you're seeing here. We're going to see a cycle at the end of turn from Patrick.
So, in Sam Black's article this week about his preparation for Worlds, and Sam being one of the team of 4 that brought blue-black control to the tournament and did quite well with it.
Yep.
Pointed out the reason that they did not play Opt in their deck, and that was because Hieroglyphic Illumination, relative to how it interacts with Search for Azcanta, was actually the better card because it set up Torrential Gearhulk.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Patrick, I take it, not playing Torrentials?
No.
At least main?
At least main.
Sure. So it makes more sense for him to be casting Opt.
Yeah, absolutely. And it pairs well with Dynavolt Tower being able to play as many low-cost spells as possible.
Indeed.
To be able to trigger your Dynavolt Towers as well. Now, if you were playing Torrential Gearhulks, then it would be a completely different story.
Right. And that means he's also very likely playing the full playset of Glimmer of Genius as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which the blue-black control decks at Worlds did not.
No, they did not. And they were playing removal spells such as Essence Extraction, Vraska's Contempts, things of that nature. I do believe Patrick does have a Scarab God in his hand, though. So he is playing at least 1 or 2 creatures main with the Scarab God, but those types of threats do return to his hand at the end of turn.
Well, that and still can't Fatal Push it.
No, still can't Fatal Push it.
And
I mean, Belfatto does have Never Return. That's exactly what I was about to say.
Right, so he's going to need 7 mana.
Yep.
To get rid of it all in one turn, and hope to catch Patrick without any sort of interaction like a disallow.
Yeah, absolutely. An 8/8 Gearhulk, though.
Pardon?
An 8/8 Gearhulk, though, is a little bit harder for this deck to deal with.
Okay, yeah, that's legit. Don't know how much energy Patrick has. Don't know if the energy counter is accurate.
I believe that is accurate.
Okay, well, then he might be in a little bit of trouble here, to be honest.
He does have that Harness Lightning he just picked up. But even then, you know, unless you're going to double spell to kill that Gearhulk, which you don't see much going on from Belfatto at this point.
Right.
I would venture to say that even double spelling, you're at least going to get rid of, you know, this large threat. And I believe that's what he's going to... No, he's going to play the Scarab God. So I believe... I
think the plan is block and harness.
Yeah, I believe so. Belfatto drawing a land. Going to take a look probably at his hand of removal spells. I would venture to say he's going to never return this Scarab God.
Yep, but he's going to lose the opportunity to double up and actually exile it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's going to get in for 8.
Yeah. And Patrick will be put down to 4.
So all it would take would be another removal spell off the top for Belfie. And we'd see the same pattern play out, except Patrick would scoop him up.
Yep.
Because he would have 4 life, which is not sufficient to take 8 damage and still keep playing.
Yeah. Alright. Looked as though Patrick drew another land.
So I learned over the weekend that the rules as they stand at even competitive REL with a trigger like Scarab God cannot be missed and therefore permanently exiled or leave the Scarab God in the graveyard permanently. If it is missed, the trigger is instead deferred to the next end step.
Oh.
Once the missing of the trigger is discovered.
Okay. So we saw this rule change recently. It's mainly been talked about in Modern with Path to Exile, reminding your opponent of beneficial triggers, even to them. So I would assume it goes to the same wayside of that.
I think this actually dates back to Obsidian, Ghost Council.
Okay.
Similar situation with that.
Okay.
The rule was the trigger would happen at the next opportunity.
Yeah.
Instead of the card being permanently exiled.
Yep. That does actually make sense. Belfatto drawing a Walking Ballista right here, and Patrick down to 4. He can play it for 3. Patrick will be very much inclined to shoot it as soon as possible.
Right.
But he'll be put down to 1, so any ballista off the top would kill him. But Belfatto choosing to activate the Never to Return and more than likely get rid of a beneficial Gear Hulk target at this point. Choosing to remove Opt. And I believe his hand at this point is Walking Ballista and Fatal Push.
Yeah. Belfi taking the more conservative line.
Yeah.
Making Patrick exhaust his resources as they stand to deal with that token.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So he traded his 4 mana and a non-card for Patrick's 5 energy.
Yeah.
So actually a pretty even trade of resources in the terms of neither player had to exhaust a card.
Yeah. Here is not an even trade of resources, though. In that you're activating one of your lands to put a spell right into your hand.
Right, yeah. 4 mana draw a card. Actually better than draw a card.
Better than draw a card. Choose a card.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
the card is very good.
Yes. Patrick's hand being a Censor and a Supreme Will. He's just going to pass here. Oh. And he's going to get censored.
Oh, ooh. Supreme Will, actually.
Okay.
Right?
All right. All right. I like censoring there.
I agree.
Being as
seems a better. Well, Patrick in a situation though where he needs to start looking to close out this game.
Absolutely, and the reason I like using censor there and Supreme Willing is because Supreme Will digs you 4 cards deeper as opposed to just cycling, which he just did with that censor.
That's fair.
Belfatto drawing a Glint Sleeve Siphoner here, and all these little guys right now are just awful against triple Dynavolt Tower.
Right.
Every threat's going to be removed. And I don't think there's anything he can draw unless he draws another Walking Ballista.
Right.
And Patrick is just left without a counterspell in hand, which I also don't foresee happening.
So he chooses the Supreme Will there as opposed to the Glimmer. I think I would have gone with the Glimmer.
I would have also gone with the Glimmer.
Just to build that energy pool a little bit more?
Yeah, and dig you some number of cards deeper. It's card advantage spell as opposed to card selection with the Supreme Will. Maybe he is playing towards and just going to keep that counterspell in his hand.
But, I mean, we're at a point in the game where it's really not that great.
No, it's not. Absolutely not. Alright, and Belfatto's going to scoop them up here.
Yep. There you go. That's what the Scarab God does.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick Narsavage is going to return a Gear Hulk and end that game very quickly. So, sideboard here.
Yeah, so you know what Patrick's list looks like, right?
Yeah, I have a generalized idea. Yeah, we've talked about it and tested it. I've tried to talk him out of it multiple times.
Your buddies,
yeah,
you guys test together on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, we generally do. Absolutely.
Yeah. Talk about the game pretty regularly. Yeah, yeah. So you know what's going on over there. What's he bringing in?
He does not have Vraska's Contempts in his list. I know that, just due to card availability issues.
Okay.
I've tried to talk to him about that. He's going to bring in maybe his one of Bantu's Last Reckoning.
Interesting. So he has chosen to play that card.
Everyone seems to be running that as a one of.
Yeah.
I believe he has turns for Gear Hulks in his board,
right?
Which are very good.
Okay.
And he just has more generalized counterspells such as Negate and things of that nature, which you would not bring in this matchup.
No.
And he does. I think he has some number of Duresses.
And what's he taking out?
In this type of matchup, I actually like Bantu's Last Reckoning as opposed to Hour of Devastation, just because Belfatto does tend to get his creatures up above that hump a little bit more.
Okay. Sure, I get on board with that.
Yeah.
It just seems like such a non-bow with any deck that is looking to abuse the power of Search for Azcanta.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually saw it on the top 4 Worlds with Kelvin Shu casting that spell.
Yeah, well...
But he did. I know he misplayed a little bit. He tapped his lands at the end of turn, did some things that he shouldn't have.
Yeah, and the consensus... Okay, now, let's be fair. That's 24 of the best Magic the Gathering players on this planet.
Yes.
Okay? They played for, what, 3 days?
Yes.
He's in the top 4.
Yes.
So that alone right there says enough about him as a player.
Absolutely.
After 2 incredibly intense days of Magic, playing against 23 of the other best players that exist on this planet, it is certainly reasonable for a person to make some mistakes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Even if they are indeed one of the 24 best players on the planet.
Oh, absolutely. And that just goes to show you that even the best players in this world make those,
They make those mistakes. They get tired.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I have to imagine that you're just mentally drained.
Oh, absolutely.
After, 2 intense days of competition like that against the best in the world.
Yep.
So, really what I was going to say, though, is that I think the community will coalesce around the list that Sam Black and Josh Utter-Layton, Jerry Thompson, and I can't recall the 4th, brought to the table, as opposed to the list that Kelvin Chu brought to the table.
Okay, so the blue-black control list.
Yes.
You're talking about the Raptor list versus the Kelvin Chu list.
Indeed.
Okay.
Indeed. Because Kelvin Chu had Aether Meltdown, Main, some different choices. I do think that the Raptor list, as we'll call it, just better tuned.
Okay.
A better tuned list.
Yeah. But that does go to show you the power of the deck, that you can have those differences, and the deck is still really good.
Well, I think it goes to show the power of the key cards in that deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Search for Azcanta, Scarab God,
Torrential.
Yep, exactly.
And Vraska's Contempt as its position in the metagame right now.
Absolutely.
So with Belfie's sideboarding, I'm sure that he has taken out his Fatal Pushes and replaced them with Duresses.
Yep. Easy swap there.
Yeah, I would bet dollars to donuts on that
one. I also know, he has some sort of Planeswalker package as well.
Okay. Are we talking Vraska Relic Seeker?
He does have Vraska Relic Seeker.
What kind of advantage does that card provide in this kind of matchup?
It provides advantage in the terms of it provides you a token, 2/2 Menace Pirate token.
Okay.
So it's giving you board advantage, as well as being able to remove any of the Dynavolt towers with its minus ability.
Okay.
So it serves two purposes.
Okay.
And as well as an ultimate that clearly will win the game very quickly.
Well, Patrick with literally the best possible second turn play here.
Yep.
Belfie with probably the best possible third turn play. So both players are playing some Magic here. We're going to see, I think, a much closer game than Game 1, and Game 1 was actually pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely. Now this might be a game where, Patrick might just get run over this game.
Yeah. Especially if Belfie is fortunate enough to rip a Duress.
Yeah.
He's just going to take the most important spell in Patrick's hand in terms of allowing him to get back in the game, and that's probably going to be pretty much all she wrote.
Well, Belfatto's going to get in here for, 6, 7, 8, 9.
20 billion.
Yeah. Patrick's going to be down to 7, and there's not many. I see no lands in his hand.
Right.
I see a Dynavolt Tower or Harness Lightning, things of that nature. And this kind of goes to show you, standard right now, you have to have that turn 2 removal spell in your hand.
Absolutely.
For decks like this with Longtail Scub,
right.
It just gets out of hand that quickly.
Right. Yeah, I didn't see Patrick's opener, and certainly you are hesitant to mulligan reasonable hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, knowing the dynamics that dictate the pace of standard right now, I think that if I'm on the draw and I'm looking at a hand where the only removal spell is Harness Lightning and or Doomfall, and I think both of those cards were in his opener. However, with no red mana nor black mana in that hand, I think I'm shipping it.
I believe so. I believe I am as well.
And I think Patrick's paying the price.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, he does have the advantage of being able to play this game.
Indeed.
And that is a large advantage
against
the matchup where the opponent plays Long Tusk Cub and Whiting Constrictor.
I agree. However, the impetus is still on Patrick to have the correct cards in his hand to be able to get through those early turns and not find himself in that exact same position in which he just found himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've talked about 3-color decks going into the standard format that don't play Attune with Aether. They do have Drowned Catacomb and Dragon Skull Summit in his list. Those lands aren't fantastic unless you have the right type of hand with them. And so we've been talking about this and talking about this. If you're not playing the fast lands or Attune with Aether, your mana base does not do you any favors.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we did touch on that last week when we were talking about one of the potential downfalls of any sort of Grixis deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that it doesn't play any of the fast lanes other than Spirebluff Canal, and it doesn't get to play fix-me-up cards such as Attune with Aether, which are just fantastic.
And you know what Spirebluff Canal doesn't do?
What's that?
Cast Fatal Push.
It does not.
Yeah.
It does not. The premier removal spell in Standard.
Absolutely.
So, but we did talk about how Black Cleave Cliffs in the Standard format would be fantastic.
Yes.
Or even, Dark Slick Shores. Dark Slick Shores would be the most...
We're casting either Opt or Fatal Push, or we're casting either Fatal Push or Magma Spray.
Yep.
On turn 1, yeah. Absolutely. Grixis would be a premier color combination if those lands were in the format.
Yep, absolutely. So who do you like game 3?
You know, I think I still like Belfi's position post-sideboard.
All right.
If only because he was able... He benefited more from sideboarding than I think Patrick did.
He absolutely did.
You know, he gets rid of Dead of Fatal Pushes, turns those into Duresses, which are just savage.
Okay.
You could say Narsavage in this matchup. And again, like I said, it's really on Patrick to have the correct cards in his hand and the mana to cast them in order to prevent himself from finding, being back in that same position in which he lost the game last game.
Yep, absolutely. And it looks like he kept a hand with Opt, Negate, Magma Spray, Search for Ascanta, and I think it was Double Drowned Catacomb. Now, like I said, it does help that he is on the play.
Agreed. And he's going to get a trigger. Whoa. So we're opting higher.
So he's opting to see what type of land drop he can hit. He does find a Magma Spray, which is nice.
Or the Mountain.
Or excuse me, Mountain.
To be able to cast
to be able to cast the Magma Spray. That's what I mean. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, he had the only other land in his hand at the time was Drowned Catacomb. So second turn Search for Ascanta was off the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
So depending on the type of 2-drop Belfi plays here, but again, Magma Spray not fantastic when Belfatto has 2 energy.
Why are we not just snapping off that? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the energy in Belfi's pool. That was a stupid question. Don't mind me.
No.
Okay, so are we sure that he has Search? What he's holding up? What is he representing and costing himself being able to cast Search if he indeed has it in his hand?
So he has Negate, clearly.
What are we negating at this point?
Exactly. I'm not sure, but that Magma Spray is going to take out that.
Okay, well, okay. We get some value there.
I do like that.
I still would really like to have that Search for Ascanta on the board.
I would as well.
Because we're taking damage from the Cub no matter what.
Exactly. And Belfatto going to pump his energy right into that.
Yeah.
While Patrick is tapped out.
Yes, and that is something, one of the break points, I think, of playing any energy-based deck, playing with the card Long Tusk Cub, against these kinds of strategies, knowing when to pull the trigger, when you have those windows of opportunity to do that for free without any risk of response.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, I like it. I like it more so against other control-based matchups. I swear, if you don't know Patrick's list, Patrick could be playing Fatal Push, and then that type of play isn't fantastic. Now,
Agreed.
he didn't Fatal Push the previous turn, so he's more or less...
Exactly.
Putting it on, he does not have that.
And I think that really that's the key observation that I didn't mention.
Yeah.
The fact that Patrick had plenty of opportunity to that point to fatal push that cub, and the fact that he didn't was very indicative to Belfi that he did not, in fact, have fatal push in his hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
So felt very safe making that decision. And that, you know, as we've mentioned before, those sorts of nuances are another indication of where a player is at.
Yeah, absolutely. So Belfatto lamenting the fact that he does not have a third land, but he's still putting all the pressure on Patrick here, regardless of the lack of lands.
Right.
And even when he does, this benefits him the most, because when he does draw lands, he's going to be able to play all of his threats. Belfatto considering putting his energy onto the Longtusk Cub. And I think Patrick passing priority back here. He does not have a Fatal Push in his hand, nor does he have a removal spell that'll be able to take that out. He has a Glimmer of Genius, so that if he is playing Fatal Push, he would be able to try to find one.
You know, at this point, if I'm Belfi, I don't grow it again.
I don't think I do either.
Because it doesn't outgrow Hour of Devastation. Well, no, actually it does, because of the Whining Constrictor. See? It's a good thing I don't play that card, because I'd miss it all the time.
It's a silly card.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I very much like Belfi's decision there, actually.
Yeah. I do as well. And Patrick, you know, has a handful of counter spells and, you know, negates, and I think he drew he has another Glimmer of Genius.
Patrick desperately digging for the Fatal Push with that Glimmer of Genius right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now Belfi knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that he does not have one in his hand.
No, unless he just top decked one.
Right.
And again, I do not foresee a way, unless Patrick draws a Fatal Push right away. I'm not seeing him winning this game.
So we're gonna see another Glimmer here.
Now, if he does hit a removal spell, I do like his chances in this game.
Patrick's looking for Fatal Push, Fatal Push.
I think he's looking for Fatal Push or Harness Lightning.
Yep.
All right,
there we go.
Packs him in.
And that's exactly what I was talking about in terms of post-sideboard games. You know, and we didn't even see Belfi cast a Duress, but it didn't matter, because that's how much pressure these kinds of threats, especially out of energy, are able to put on any kind of control-based strategy.
Absolutely. And again, it shows you the power, no matter the shell it's in, it shows you the power of Longtusk Cub and why it's a premier standard threat.
Premier threat, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, additionally, I think some of the lost tempo, the fact that Patrick was not able to play that Search for Azcanta ever, but specifically on turn 2. With the potential of it digging him to Fatal Push or the lands that he needed, so on and so forth. I think speaks back to what we were talking about in terms of the problem with the Grixis mana base.
Absolutely.
And why if you want to play blue cards and you want to play black cards, you probably need to be looking at the Raptor list from Worlds.
Yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it for round 1. We will be back here shortly. I'm sure not the full 20 minutes up there in the timer. Hang out with us, folks. We'll be back with some more hot, fresh, steamy, sweaty, standard action. Thanks for hanging out. See you in a bit.
Thanks, guys.